This is Hellfire, a Toaplan shooting game published by Taito in 1989. It's pretty cool. It focuses on a kind of four-way switching directional weapon. One way, you're straight ahead. The next, you're straight behind. The next option, you're up and down. And then the final option is a kind of X cross shot. I'm using about 10 hertz autofire here, and then otherwise when I'm fully powered up, I usually just tap, because the shot limit in this game is pretty restrictive. Once you get fully powered up, you only get 2 lasers, and they are big and powerful, but you only get 2 of them on screen at a time. And so sometimes it's advantageous actually in this game to have these this more rapid fire kind of classic bullet setup as opposed to these lasers. You can see now, even not at full power, even just when you switch to the laser, you're only given 2 lasers on screen at a time. So I do use autofire a fair bit when I have this, when I have these further powered up weapons, but a lot of the time, once you're starting to have to be more precise in later levels, you're going to see me tapping as opposed to auto firing, just because it creates too much of a gap between shots to auto fire. This is kind of a tricky part to get down. You kind of have to shoot the gun on the bottom right corner of these 4-way sets of guns and then sneak in and get the other ones. And it's a 2-button game, so button 1 fires and button 2 switches your weapons. There's no bomb, there's no charge up. I like the really simple, streamlined design of it in that way. And then there are a lot of these kind of designated item carrier enemies that, or inanimate objects, as it were, that that you'll see me shoot and have like a B point item pop out, or a power up, or a speed up. And those are important to know, because every 15 of those that you shoot, or the 15th one that you shoot, if you're all the way over to the left side of the screen, and if the item carrier that you're shooting is all the way to the right of the screen, you can get 2 1-ups that way, and you'll see me get the first one right here. So there's the first one up. You get it in a very specific way, and I believe, just from reading Shmup's wiki, that's the 15th item carrier that you shoot in the game, and then the counter resets, and you can get 2 1-ups in that way. Pretty easy to just stumble on, I would say. Like, you don't need to be super precise about counting those item carriers, or I wasn't. But yeah, just something to note, you're definitely going to want those extends. This guy at point blank at the beginning, and then get out of the way of that. Oh, I kinda... Okay, no, I did okay. Sometimes I can screw that up, and it takes me way longer to kill that guy, because he'll float to the right side of the screen, and I'll have to go all the way around him again. But generally speaking, you can point blank those 3 weak points. His fire is pretty slow, and so you can kind of dodge it, and yeah, not a big deal, that mid-boss, or big middle enemy. As you can see, the shot here, the laser shot, kind of creates some slowdown at max power, and you can use that to your advantage. It's kind of a lot of slowdown for, I would say, a Toaplan game that I've seen. I haven't seen them slow down this much, the ones that I've played, but you can really kind of abuse that to make certain very difficult bullet-dense parts of the game just the tiniest bit easier. And maybe it's not so tiny. I have trouble knowing, obviously, because it's not like I played it without this slowdown, but it definitely gives you a little bit more time to just react to certain bullets coming your way. So something to keep in mind. I'm in the habit of firing at these item carriers from the left side of the screen no matter what. I just kind of got myself into the habit of doing that as long as it's safe to do so, just because it would just ensure that whenever it comes up in the item order, I would have the best chance of getting the 1-up. I never had an issue though. As long as I was like surviving in the game, like those 1-ups will appear. And if you make it a point to just kind of stay on the left side of the screen when you're shooting any item carrier. Pretty easy boss here. I like to make a challenge of sort of speed killing it or killing it as fast as possible. There is a kind of point at which it's difficult to kill it fast, and I did a good job there. You just kind of get that ball as it rolls around. Just a kind of very basic little puzzle of making you use your different shots. That's what this game is all about. I think it's a really well designed and underrated total plan game. I'm really fond of it after playing it for this clear. It does require a little bit of memorization of enemy placement, but not as much as you might think. Certainly not as much as like many other horizontal shooting games that I have dabbled in and found not to be to my particular taste. This one felt very much my speed in terms of what it required of you for memo versus what it requires of you for just like active fun playing and dodging. So this is pretty simple when you're powered up fully. It does become really tricky when you're recovering, and I should say that recovery in this game is pretty good actually. This is the one-player set where you have checkpoints, and the two-player set actually respawns you instantly, which causes chain death and makes the game like way harder. So checkpoints is what you want, in my opinion, if you're going to play this for a clear for scoring. And yeah, the checkpoints are all really fair and not easy to recover, certainly, but easier than a lot of games from this era I found. You'll see an example because I definitely die at least a couple times. And the game is generous with extends. It gives you those 2 item drop 1-ups, and then one at 70,000, and then one at every 200,000 after that. And I think I in total gained something like 6 or 7 extends, or total lives, including the ones I started with. This is an interesting little bit. Just a weird mix of these kind of straight ahead shooting and rear shooting Egyptian pharaoh heads and spread guns mounted on these things and these like moving blocks. It's definitely trickier than or not so tricky to just survive it, but if you're going for score and you're trying to kill heads and these heads and get all the B items, it can be, you can kind of get trapped. I don't think I do. Yeah, I did a pretty good job of getting the scoring items this time around, but I probably let more than a couple float off screen, like there. The scoring in the game, as far as I can tell, is pretty simple, unless there's some kind of secret that I'm not getting, which, because it's a total plan game, that could be very possible. It's basically just staying alive, maxing out your power and your speed, and then all of those would-be power and speed items turn into B point items that you get 2,000 points per. And some enemies have kind of tick points and others don't. I'm not sure what the rhyme or reason to that is, but something to watch out for. One problem with the game that I have is that there's certain sections kind of present these kind of puzzles of how to deal with them to you, and once you kind of solve them or get through them, it makes you do it like a bunch more times. Thankfully, you don't have to do that but one time in the game, you know, sneak through those moving platforms. The game's hitbox is really big, or, you know, just decently sized for what you would expect, about on par with what you would expect from the late 80s. So anything where you're kind of dealing with environment really close to you is like sketchy. All that stuff can and will get you kind of close, like you'll got further away than you think, so be careful. This is just a set kind of route at full pattern. Hang out down here, dodge that one line of bullets as that guy circles around, and then he dies. More difficult, definitely, if you're low powered. A lot of people kind of have a problem with the dead air that the game presents in the first loop. You'll see more of it a little later. We saw some in the first level, but I kind of just I didn't really talk about it. But I kind of think it's okay for me. I kind of got used to it and sort of found it to be like almost like Judgment Silversword, where instead of being like 6 long stages, it's like built out of these like micro challenges that give you a little break in between. That's sort of how I came to understand it. But the really the main point is in the second loop of this game, that's where all those gaps fill up with Sako. So if you're wanting a more intense kind of just pure shooting experience from Hellfire, give the second loop a try. It's definitely got less dead air, and it's pretty entertaining as far as what I played, which was not that much of it. All right, this part is really tricky. This kind of snaky thing only can be hit in the middle, and then he places his little different segments of his body in the same way every time, so you just kind of have to learn how to wrap around it. I wrap to the right, and then down, and then to the left, and then back up. Or back to the right and up if I need to. But pretty tricky, the dodging both the segments and the bullets. This section is simple at full power, more difficult at low power because each of those spheres, when they reach the bottom of the screen, will explode into a big spread. And so obviously when you're low power, you're not killing them as quickly as I'm killing them here, and a lot of them can reach the ground and really start to mess you up if they compound. So definitely try not to die. These little bouncy aliens can be a little dangerous. You kind of see what I mean about slowing the bullets down with your power here. It's a pretty good representation of that. Like the slowdown is what I mean. The actual hardware slowdown affecting the speed of those bullets. It is kind of erratic. I don't think I've gotten the second one up yet, unless I missed it. No, I don't think I did. This is where I'm tapping on the laser, on shot to time it with these guys' jumps. A lot of the time before this point I'm using auto fire, but at this point in the game I start tapping a lot more. And then here I position top right, and then point blank this guy, wrap down, and then weapon switch once to go rear. Oh, and I didn't kill it. Okay, there it goes. It died. Ooh, oh no! Sometimes I can get screwed up here. These guys have a really weird way they move around the screen, and I think I get trapped and die. Yep. Alright, so now you're going to see a little bit of recovery. Cross shot is really good for low power. just for doing screen control, you know, the little screen control that's possible. Oof. Really gotta memorize the weapon switches, you know, the weapon switch order in this, and it's gotta kind of become second nature. Like when you're across, you gotta know how many presses it takes to get to rear, or get to up and down, or get to straight, and you know, multiply that for all of the directions. All right, we're gonna try again. Okay, that guy died pretty quick. Now I'm routing this better. I don't think I get trapped on the left. You stay to the right over here because these guys go to the left. And then they come back right. And you go to the left. So that's the way to deal with that. I'd be curious to read if there's rank in this game. It did not feel to me like there is. Which is to say, even though I'm powered down here, the bullets feel about the same speed. If there is a difference, I think it's like subtle, but who knows? I could be wrong. I'd be interested to check that out. I don't think the wiki mentions rank that I read. The way to do this is go into the cave and hang out on the right and kill stuff point blank so that you can wrap around and kill those enemies that come in from the rear. Hard to deal with those otherwise. This is the best example in the game of what I was talking about before, where it just makes you do the same, you know, like solve the same enemy puzzle way too many times. So you straight shot straight shot until you can get into position to do a diagonal and start like killing these guys in lines. And that's all you do. It's not that hard, and then you just have to do it like 10 times. So straight shot, straight shot, straight shot, get into position, switch to cross, dodge a bullet, and then just like sit on them until they stop spawning, and then repeat again. It's the one flaw of the game in my view. Even the dead air doesn't, like I said, doesn't bother me so much, and the kind of slower, methodical pace, that's just like a, you know, a preference thing or a taste thing that maybe some people like, some people don't, but actual design flaw, just artificial lengthening of the game by just making some of these sections too long with too little variation. Okay, so with this boss, point blanking is the way, but he does release that 3-shot that you're going to want to kind of be really careful of and try and time right. And then once you pass that 3-shot, you're just you're kind of just finishing him off, dodging his bullets, and kind of incidentally hitting him whenever you're able, and killing him that way is the safest way that I found. For this level, keep in mind that the vines up at the top of the screen and at the bottom do not cause collision damage. You're totally fine to go all the way to the top and the bottom. That kind of threw me the first time playing it. I definitely thought those would kill me, and it makes dealing with these Zako way more difficult. You want to speed kill the top gun on these red walkers when they spawn on screen every single time, or else, I mean, they fill they have a lot of health, and they fill the screen with bullets when you're trying to deal with the smaller enemies, and it's just a bad combination, as you can see right here. It took me a little longer to kill that one, and it got kind of dicey. I'm back up to full power, so I was able to fully recover. I don't know if I'm back up to full speed. It's the full speed in this game is kind of it's very fast, and there's the second one up. That's why you get yourself used to just moving to the left to kill item carriers, is because that thing is, you know, I'm not counting item carriers, so that's just going to pop out whenever. Yeah, top speed in this game is really fast, and it becomes very twitchy. And it's not like the game is asking you to like do micro dodging or anything super kind of close with the environment, but it's still easy to run into stuff at full speed. So it's just something to get used to. That's an inevitable part of the game if you're interested in scoring. You don't want to be leaving, you know, all those those potential score items left as speed items. This is rhythmic tapping to just take care of these fish before they fire. And then every once in a while sneaking up to get the items. These volcanoes filled with, like, seahorses or whatever these are really troublesome. I would say, I think the rule is deal with 3 sets of those using the straight shot, and then move up to the top of the screen and use 4-way cross shot for the rest. So this is the second one. I'm tapping because I'm all the way to the left of the screen, so if I were to use auto fire, it would create this massive gap between my lasers, which would not be good. Oh, there's another death. I did follow I guess it's 2 that you deal with, or maybe I shouldn't have followed, or maybe I did that wrong. I don't recall whether it's 2 or 3 volcanoes. That's my rule before I move up to the top of the screen. It's really a feel thing for me. It's like when they get too close to you on the left that you move up to the top. So this is the same way I would deal with it with full power laser. And see, here's an example where you almost would rather have those bullets, like the lower powered shots, just because there's a higher limit on them, and they could better, you know, control the screen with all these enemies coming from absolutely everywhere. And they're Zako, so they don't take, like, anything, you know, they only take 1 shot to kill. I don't think I ever, like, didn't collect a power-up for that reason, but I did often think, like, ooh, if I'm having trouble with this, maybe the play is to, like, keep my low power shot through X, Y, or Z section. This is another section where it's beneficial to have, because you can see I'm, like, letting these enemies hang around for way too long because they're just moving through the gaps in my laser spread. Again, dealing with that walker right off the bat. As soon as they spawn, make those the priority. I don't think there's any question that cross shot is the best way to deal with this. Unless you want to be really quickly flipping from forward shot to rear shot. But I like kind of circling around these guys and taking care of them with the cross. And then there are instances like this where they're coming from both sides, and it's like, no question. I think you just want to keep this for the whole section. Alright, I'm back up to full power again. Again, the game, like, that's pretty generous. Pretty fun to recover and relatively easy to recover in this game, which is just so... I love that about it. It doesn't strike me as you know, anywhere near the brutality of like a Same Same Same, which I think was one Toaplan game before or after this. I'm not sure which, but interesting that the philosophy on difficulty changed so much between 2 very close together in time games. Okay, maybe most annoying boss in the game. These guys, the goal is to speed kill one of these guys, and then you're much more on easy street. But while there are 4 alive, look at the way they do slow aimed shots at you from all sides of the screen and all corners of the screen, and it is very difficult to at full power, as at least in my experience with the strategy that I had, very difficult to speed kill one before dying. Like, they have so much health. It's kind of what makes me think there is a little bit of rank, because I always found it slightly easier to deal with that boss for reasons that I couldn't quite put my finger on at low power like this. So I always go for the top right, point blank, dodge 1 bullet, and then back off, down, switch to rear shot, Switch to up and down, and then this is the sketchy part. Okay. There we go. I killed him, and so now you basically take the place of that head. You stay where that head would have been, the one that you killed. And you can see every time the heads reach the right middle, they fire off a really fast fireball shot. So this allows you to basically not have to worry about that at all. This method of just like being one of the missing heads. And then they do some weird patterns, like if they survive long enough that they switch directions. But it's not a big deal. It's really the hardest thing is really taking care of that first head of the 4, and then not too bad this boss. There are 6 stages in the game, so we've got 2 more for 1-all. Alright, so these guys each are... these pillars have 3 item carriers each on them, and then they release out of their doors these 4 kind of mech enemies, and there's like, again, so many repetitions of this same little thing. As you can see, this is number 3 that we're dealing with here. Trying to get some point items. I'm back to full power. I think that's back to full speed. Once you're at full speed and power, you can just like do up and down shot and sit on those, sit above the door where those mechs come out and just destroy them. This section I like to be on the right instead of on the left, and kind of make sure I'm killing the sets of 3 little spaceships that come out of every single one of these. And that allows you to be safe when you're dealing with... You gotta get up and kill those 3 so that you can be safe dealing with this guy who spawns right there, the item carrier enemy. And then I flip back to the left side of the screen for this section and use the straight shot. And once that item carrier is dead, that's my cue to get back to the right as quickly but as safely as possible and just get out of dodge, because you end up getting swarmed by those Zako, and all of those like worm robot things just start popping up way faster. This part you want to... I think the best way is to have cross and be positioned right where I am right here. It's still kind of a sketchy part, as you can see. Required some quick dodging. Those things reveal a set of 4 guns on both the top and bottom, and so and then you're in this part with these kind of eyeball enemies and very blatantly testing your kind of direction switching prowess. Be careful of the pink ones that are floating like that. They'll shoot you, but they also carry an item. Whenever they're not deep, they're like kind of in the shallow recessions in the floor or ceiling, you can use your blue cross shot to deal with them. Like that. And then when they're really deep up in there, you mostly have to rely on up and down. This is kind of a tricky part. Oh, and I died. I think I should have just like stayed to the right and gone down and on the right, as opposed to try and go back down on the left. Alright, fun stuff to do in recovery, because like these guys don't die in one shot. I think it's like 2 or 3. So all of a sudden you're definitely more in danger of taking a hit. Those bullets are coming pretty fast. I don't know that they're any slower at all. Ugh. Oh, nice! I snagged the power up right there from the pink enemy. Use my cross because all those guys were in shallow holes. Ah, that was almost dead. Luckily, the shot caught the corner. All right, made it out of that. 3 lives left. Getting powered up again slowly, but still pretty slow. I look pretty fast, actually. I must have at least a couple speed ups. Okay, so here's what I mean. When you're not powered up, it's best to be safe and just shoot those guys and sacrifice. Just focus on killing the enemies and don't worry about the last item. The one with the red kind of dots. So now I might feel safe. Yep, there we go. So now I'm feeling safe. Oof. Whoa. Yeah, this part's tough. They ram them way closer together. Yeah. Too bad I had to forego all those items, but I was just focused on making it through that. The music is really good in this game. I'm talking a lot about the gameplay, but I really do like the way it looks. I like the way the ship looks. I like that rotating, you know, color-changing, cylindrical design. And then the music is really simple, but really effective, in my opinion, throughout the whole game. Oof. Alright, this is really easy at full power. You just go down these gaps as soon as you're able, switch directions, and just the enemies that are crawling on the ceiling, never even seen what they look like. I always just kill them as fast as possible, and they present no trouble at all. This is really just, again, a little bit more filler to, you know, before the boss. It's possible that it's harder in recovery, but I don't think I've ever played it at low power. Alright, I think that was the last one before the boss. Tough boss requires, the way I deal with it, requires just twitch dodging, you know, sight dodging based on the shots that he's firing. It's not too hard. It almost feels harder than it looked there. Just the very first kind of getting into position in the gap is maybe the scariest thing about that. Alright, final stage. Ugh. Yeah, so those Nautilus kind of shell-looking guys are the item carriers, and then these gray Zako behave in really wacky and move in really wacky ways, so just be wary. I think the cross is the way I always deal with them, because often they're coming in from both sides of the screen. The way this level is put together, it's like you're fighting sets of increasingly large battleships that all kind of have the same or similar pieces, and you're just having to contend with bigger versions of them, kind of one by one, but sometimes they put multiple on the screen. Okay, I switched to straight shot to deal with that. Okay, so here they're bringing in another one after they've introduced this version, and then they'll bring in a second one on screen at the same time. And the key is, at least for as far as survival goes, using the first ship as a shield at the top of the screen, and you can just basically ignore this second ship entirely. Now, is there a way to deal with it where you destroy both entirely and score better? I'm sure there is, but that's for another time. And now we're going to get, after some popcorn enemies, we're going to get introduced to the second kind of version of the battleship that's slightly bigger. It's just nice to me, it's like nice to get these like little breaks. The game could be more condensed. There's no doubt about that, that it would be better if it were, but for the mood I was in when playing it, I was just I was happy to get little micro breaks during the run. So again, dealt with this one much the same way. Cross shot to deal with the bottom, and then straight shot to deal with the front and top. And then this one, I stay underneath the ship because as you can see, it doesn't come with you, the ship on the left, in order to block the ship on the right in the same way that we did the first time. So you just stay underneath and take care of these guns. Not a huge deal. This is one of the hardest parts of the level. Watch what the camera starts doing here. It's kind of insane. So things are coming from both sides of the screen, and all of a sudden the camera, or the field of play, just starts like zigzagging back and forth along with these environmental obstacles, and it's really annoying. And the thing to know is stay to the right for the most part and get rid of those item carrier Nautilus enemies as soon as you possibly can. Like right now, just take care of it, because you can deal with these little spaceship, these little balls, but if you don't, if one of those item things remains on screen, it's just too many bullets and too much shit, and it's almost always certain death. So that's the strategy there, is just kill those as quickly as possible, and then the whole thing becomes easier to deal with. Here's the third version of the battleship with these missiles that come out the top. And this one you can use the same strategy as the first, where you hide above the, the one that appears first, and then don't even have to worry about the second. I'm going to sneak some... No, that wasn't even worth it. Didn't even kill anything on it. Alright, and I believe we're at the final boss. Oh. Apparently, okay. Yeah, these guys are tricky. Usually just stay with cross shot. Okay. This boss is, once you know it, it's not hard. Like, I would almost fight this guy any day over those 4 heads in the forest. You basically have to dodge his little golden staff thing. Be really careful about that. He, like, goes all the way to the left with it. Circle around to avoid the missiles. Circle down, I should say. And then go back up and point blank him any opportunity that you have. And he dies really quick. Alright, loop 2. So now you're going to see much less dead space and many more lines of Zako enemies pestering you. I'm sad to say I did not get... I don't know that I even beat stage 1 of loop 2. I kind of wish I had gotten a little bit further. I think I had the ability, but yeah, just kind of went on tilt after a couple bad deaths. It's like none of these Zako are here in the first loop. Or way fewer of them, I should say. All these boxes give tick points and should definitely be destroyed for score. The boxes that hang out at the very top and bottoms of this level. Woo. Oh my god, oh jeez. More good example of the slowdown of the game. Little chunks of slowdown every single time you fire. I was wondering, can I get another 2 1-ups? I don't think so. I'm not sure, but I don't think so. It's just every 200,000 points from now on. really breezy kind of, yeah, well-designed game. Looks good, sounds good. I think it's just really, really solid. Like playing this loop, I thought, man, yeah, this is like really fun, and it's not memo, it's not at all. I mean, it's definitely more just like having fun dodging and you know, not too many environmental hazards that annoy, like in so many of these horizontal shooters. I would put it up there with my favorite horizontal shooters that I've ever played. I've played a lot of them for like a matter of less than an hour and gotten annoyed and frustrated by them. And this one I find really cool. Ugh. Bullets are way faster. See, this is what happens when you don't speed kill it. You gotta go all the way over to the left and then back to his backside to finish him off. Almost makes me like, some part of me almost thinks like, what is there more to these boxes? Like, it just seems so weird that there's just this big gap where all you're meant to do is destroy a line of boxes. All right, here's where the Zako starts to get squirrely, and I believe I start to die. Because if you can't, I don't know if cross shot was the play here. With cross shot, if you can get up underneath something, that's a really, you know, it's just a surefire way to kill it, or right on top of it, of course. Oh. Alright, this is going to be really, this is where it all ends for me, because dealing with this part, nope. Dealing with this part without the penetration of the laser is really tough. That's another huge downside of the... Oh, that was just stupid, though. That's another downside of the bullets. I mean, they do... You can have these more steady streams on the screen with a higher shot limit, but they don't penetrate. So all these lines of enemies are just all of a sudden you have to... They act as shields for one another. It's very not cool. I think I have like one valiant effort where I get decently far. Let's see. Maybe this is it. Oh yeah, see? That's what I mean about being on top, directly on top of something. Yeah, here we go. This is, see? You can do it. You can recover from this shit. Just takes, you know, takes some zesty play. Oh shit, go. Oh, I got too eager to go back and get the power up. I shouldn't have been worried about that. I should have just been focused on getting through. And that's it. Another pathetic death to the item carrier. Yeah, really cool game. Underrated game, I would say. It's a shame that it had to be in a physical package with the worst shooter Toaplan made, and one of my least favorite shmups that I've played, Zero Wing. Maybe I'll come revisit that now that I'm more on a Toaplan kick, but man, I don't like Zero Wing. I did still buy that collection because gotta support M2, and I really wanted to practice this on a trip I had to take. Great port, but it comes with Zero Wing. Alright, well thanks everyone for watching. See you next time.